Welcome, my friends, to the Happiness Breakthrough, where resilience, mindset, and excellence converge. Join us, Dr. Mark and Becky Leonard, high school sweethearts turned entrepreneurs, as we share powerful stories and practical tips to elevate your life.
From overcoming life's toughest trials to mastering mindset and relationships, every episode is a journey towards your happiest, most fulfilled self. Tune in and transform your life with real, actionable wisdom.
All right, Becky, I've got a couple questions for you. Are you ready?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Maybe, I don't know.
Well,
I'm a little scared right now, but go for it.
I just want to see how you're going to react to a couple questions I'm going to ask. And just so those of you at home are listening, or for those of you that are in your car, she has no idea what I'm going to ask, nor does she know where I'm going to go with this. So I'm going to see what's going to happen. We're going to watch live on this video. Are you ready?
My face right now, for those of you that can't see, is like that emoji with the teeth that are just like, yeah,
Okay,
that's where we are. So let's go for this.
here we go. What are we going to have for dinner tonight? No, wait. Tomorrow, when you're in traffic and you have to drive for an hour, what is going to be the thing that you're going to be focusing on? No, wait. I've got another one for you. What do you feel right now?
A little bit like, just make up your mind.
Chaos, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Isn't it fascinating that as soon as we start having a whole bunch of things hitting us at once, we start feeling this. For me, I feel almost a sense of this tightness, this, oh man, how am I going to make a decision? Where am I going to go? Wait, what was the first question? And I start getting, I guess I'll say, I don't want to say anxiety, but I certainly get this feeling of pressure. You?
Do you want me to add to this? Yes. I think that we experience chaos differently, though.
Okay, how do you experience chaos?
I'm just saying the situations give us like different situations, things that trigger you don't necessarily trigger me, like traffic. I mean, I can get bugged by it, but I'm not triggered by it,
Okay, that's fair.
right?
That's fair.
But then dinner at night. Dinner every night, trying to think about what to eat. Like when we've got a ton of things going on and I don't know what to eat, that's super stressful for me. Which is why you cook.
This
Thanks, babe.
so then
So I should drive.
exactly. This is what I just heard. You drive, I cook. This seems like a pretty good fit right here.
There you go. We just solved your problem.
We just solved all of
Get
your
out of chaos by giving the thing that you don't like to your spouse. And then the thing they don't like, you'll take on and you're good.
Absolutely. Ooh, opposites, right? Opposites in all things. I'm really fascinated by this idea of chaos and how people react to it and what we can do to get back in control, which is why this series that we're talking about right now, Becky, is really giving and expanding upon that framework of control. Today, we're going to talk about the very beginning of the framework, which is choice. And how to make a choice when you have so many things coming at you. I don't know how, for example, you were able to keep the home ship running when I was traveling internationally and you had 6 kids at home and you were doing it all alone and I was gone so much. I don't know how you balanced everything. And I'm sure a lot of people would love to hear some of your strategies of what you did to make a choice and what you did to be able to handle all of that craziness.
Oh, goodness. I mean, some of it was having somebody to talk to. I mean, you were starting your morning and I was ending my day. So sometimes that was really a struggle. But having somebody to talk through and talk things through was really crucial for me. Sometimes it was just a good cry. It's just truth. Sometimes you just need to fill the pills and then you like, you know, pull up your bootstraps and get back to work. And a lot of prayer, a lot of connecting with God. I couldn't have gotten it through it without my relationship with my Heavenly Father and my Savior. That was instrumental for me.
Oh, and it continues to be instrumental for both of us.
Hmm.
That's one of the things I was looking at the scriptures today, and I was reading, really trying to do some research about choice and how do we make choices and what do I learn in the scriptures from that. And in the business world, a lot of times we say agency, or maybe I should say in the psychological or in the positive psychological space, we talk about agency. Just as a clarifier, I am not a psychologist. I have never played one on TV. However, I have coached a lot of psychologists.
Maybe Russell Crowe has.
Maybe. All right, for those of you that are watching, do I look like Russell Crowe? Could you put that in the comments? Because just yesterday, somebody stopped me and said, has anyone ever told you that you look like Russell Crowe? And now, of course, my very first thought is, do I look like the Russell Crowe that was in Gladiators? Or do I look like the Russell Crowe that is older and out of shape? I'm
Gladiator, babe, gladiator.
I'm totally
Yes,
choosing that version of
100%.
Russell
But maybe
Crowe.
he played a psychologist, so it counts.
It does count. So we're going to talk about agency. So choice seems really simplistic, but when you get down to what is choice, and one of the things I love that God has given us is what's called agency. And you can even extrapolate from there and go a little bit further to moral agency. So moral, let me start over. Agency is your ability to make a choice. And when we look at it from the constructs of just our daily life, it is, oh, I get to choose what we are having for dinner. If I'm cooking, I get to choose, right?
That's true. And I don't complain.
Right, and that is agency. That's an ability to make a choice and choose which way you want to go.
Hmm.
Moral agency, which is often found in the scriptures, is that choice between right and wrong, good and evil, right? And that started at the very beginning when we look in Genesis and you see that God separated, right, the light from the darkness. There was a separation of things. So, and this is what I love about agency. When you start looking at this, it's just a yes or a no, a right or a wrong, or simply which way are you going to lean and choose. And moral agency is one's ability to choose, am I going to follow God or not?
Okay.
All right, so this is not a religious podcast, but we always have religious undertones for us. And I really love in Joshua chapter 24, verse 15. Yeah, verse 15. Choose ye this day whom you will serve.
Hmm.
As for me and my family, we will serve the Lord. There it is. So you see it in Genesis, you see it in Joshua, you see it in Exodus, Leviticus, you see it throughout the New Testament, you see it replete throughout all of the canonical works, that there is this idea that we can make and have a choice. However, how many of us fall into not a choice but a reaction?
That's deep. Or by not making a choice, you've made a choice.
Are you quoting Rush?
Apparently, but I wouldn't know that.
That was from the album Exit Stage Left.
Well, there you go.
One of my
Look how cool
favorites,
I am.
right? You're so cool.
Just-
You're so cool that you know classic rock from the 70s. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice.
It's true, though. However, when we're talking about going from chaos to control, we're talking about the choice that you can make about where you're going to sit in the midst of chaos. Because the choice that you make, well, it can hinder or help the chaos, but sometimes it's not going to do either. It's just going to help you, right?
Oh, absolutely. Aren't the choices that we make often because we feel that's what is best for us? I mean, even if you say, well, I made a choice to serve that person. Well, why did you serve them?
I guess everybody's reasoning for that would be different.
It could be. It
Like
could
you
be.
feel like you have to, you feel like you need to, it brings you joy.
Wait a second. So I said that people make a choice because it is something for them. So they feel like they need to or they shouldn't. It feels good to or feels good not to, right? Either way, it's about the person and the individual. Many people make choices based on what they feel is best for them. However, I see over and over and over again that people make choices based on a habit or based on this idea of, I don't know how I'm going to decide, I'm just going to do it. And they're not actually putting forethought and they're not putting intentionality behind the choices that they're making.
Hmm.
And I really think that's one of the major differences between people that are very successful and people that are not. Or maybe I should rephrase and say a major difference between people that are very successful and the people that are striving and grapple with success, whatever that looks like for you. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be weight loss, it could be food, it could be relationships, it could be financial, it could be emotional, it could be mental, it could be any avenue. But the difference is those that are intentional about the choices that they make.
Hmm.
Okay, I'll share a story. You looked at me like, okay, what do I say here? What do I say?
I don't know where we're going with this. You guys, we don't script this. So this is like a conversation. I think about it, he thinks about it, and then we just go from there. So
We really do. And then right before we film a podcast, one of us will start talking, and then we'll go, oh wait, I'll save that for the podcast because we don't want that creativity to be
like to lose it.
yes, to be
Yeah. But then
expunged.
sometimes we forget what we were going to talk about. So there's that too.
That does happen. Okay,
Sorry.
story time. Here we go. I am in my mind a phenomenal athlete. But I didn't start that way. In fact, I started in my mind as a terrible athlete. And I remember a lesson that my Aunt Dot gave me.
Oh,
How cool is this? So I was joining the junior high basketball team. I was terrible. I was absolutely terrible at the sport of basketball. This this sport was not my friend. And I remember I was picked on tremendously in practice. I was slow. I was just not very good. I could not shoot a free throw. And I remember my Aunt Dot. She was visiting, and in Colorado, basketball was a winter sport, like it is for so many people. And I remember us sitting down, and she said, well, tell me about how you shoot a free throw. And I probably said something snarky as a junior high student would often
of
remark,
course.
right?
Yes.
And I go, well, I walk up to the line and I throw it up there. She said, that was your problem. That was your problem. I said, what do you mean that was my problem? You stand at the line, you throw it up and get it into the basket, right? She said, yes, but you didn't spend any time visualizing what it's going to look like, what you're going to do, and go through a practice over and over and over again. So by the time you get to the line, your body has already done it multiple times.
Hmm.
That was a transformational moment in my life of what does preparation look like before I get somewhere.
Right. You know, speaking of preparation, that reminds me of this semester that I'm going through right now. And we knew at the beginning of our junior year that we would need to do an internship at the end of our senior year.
Okay, you're talking collegiate. You're
I'm
college.
talking college.
Okay.
I'm getting ready. Like here I am starting my last semester of college. I graduate in May. And our whole cohort knew that we needed to do an internship. That was kind of, tucked in the back of our minds. Well, the beginning of last semester, so like last September, our teacher starts talking to us about this and she's like, you're going to want to start thinking about this. You're going to want to start planning for this. And so here we are and we're talking about it and the semester's going on and I'm super proactive. This is one area where I'm like, I don't want to be the last one to the game. So I'm interviewing, I find my internship, I'm like, check the box, I'm good to go by beginning of November, right? So then we start getting emails after the semester's over, like the end of December, semester starting in a couple weeks, and she's like, there's most of you have not even picked an internship yet, and semester starts in 3 weeks, and then 2 weeks, and then 1 week, and then the internship is supposed to be starting, and there's a whole bunch of people that are scrambling. And I'm talking to one of my fellow classmates, and she's telling me about the internship that she got, and it's terrible. She's literally just observing. She's observing for 3 months. That's all she gets to do. She doesn't, an internship is supposed to be where you put what you've learned into practice. You go, you learn, and then you start doing. But because of where she ended up and because of her lack of preparation, here she is in something that's not going to serve her. It's not going to help her in her degree. And it's literally just like going through the motions. And so I think about that with what you were saying, that there's something about the planning ahead, the thinking ahead, the deciding like how you want to show up, choosing the path ahead of time instead of in the minute, like trying to figure it all out and then not being where you want to be.
Yet so many people are like your classmates that they almost wait to be acted upon instead of acting.
Right.
They wait until they get the email. And for so many people, they say, well, yes, but Mark, I'm so busy. I didn't have time to. Well, then you didn't value it. So it obviously wasn't a priority until it became a fire. And it had to be a raging fire for you to finally decide to act upon it. So I would love to spend a couple moments and talk about some strategies of what we could do to prepare ourselves ahead of time. Now, this is ironic. Another quick story that Becky and I had a realization this week about how we approach graduate school. And so let me just give a little bit of a backstory that I was not always intentional in my life. This is something I've had to really focus on and learn, and I'm still trying to get better and better at. It's ironic. I coach a lot of people on this, and I am very, very good at it. However, I didn't used to be. So let me share the story of how I got into graduate school, and then we'll share the story of how Becky got into graduate school. And we'll show those two differences, and maybe in there we'll talk about some strategies of what you can do to make better decisions in life that will have a more positive outcome. Because isn't that something that we all want? As we're looking at our life, we go, boy, I really want this to be the outcome. All right. Well, I had graduated from my master's degree and I was at work one day. And for months, I had been contemplating, oh, what do I want to do? Do I want to go to law school? Do I want to become a professor? Do I want to go to medical school? This was literally my conversation I was having with Becky, with myself, three different choices, three different avenues. And I didn't even know when I wanted to start. I started leaning heavily towards law school. I thought, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go become a lawyer. That sounds really exciting and invigorating to me. So I started looking at law schools. I started looking at what do I need to do to prepare. And I was like, no, I lost interest. This was not the thing for me. And I'm talking to a guy at work. It was a Monday morning. I was like, hey, how are you? And he goes, oh, great. What I asked him, what'd you do this week? He said, oh, I just got back from graduation. Graduation? Where were you? What do you mean just got back from? He said, oh, we were living in Utah at the time. And he said, oh, I was down in Pepperdine in Malibu, California. I just graduated with my master's. I was like, what? What are you talking about? You lived here and you went there? He goes, oh yeah. I said, well, tell me more about it. He goes, oh, this is what I did. This is what it was. I'm like, well, I already have my master's. He said, oh, they have a great doctoral program too. I went, really? They have a great doctoral program? So then I went back to my desk and I typed it in. I was like, ooh, this sounds interesting. I got home that day. I was like, hey, Becky, I think I've made a choice. I'm going to go to Pepperdine. There was a
Whatever
test.
the major test is, literally like pretty much immediately, he's all, oh, I'm going to take that next week. No studying, nothing.
I'll just go take it.
And then he took it and he applied, and 2 months later he started his doctoral program.
I absolutely zero planning. It was a conversation at lunch that then prompted me to go take a test the next week and apply. And yes, I think this was May or June, and I started in August.
Mhm.
So it was just out of the blue. Hey, guess what? I'm going to go do my doctorate. That's how I got into it. How did you decide to do your doctorate? And what's your decision making been along the way?
Can we preface this by saying I'm a major overthinker? Okay, good, good. There's that. I started praying about it and thinking about it and pondering what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, probably before I started back in school in 2019. And and then I kept like thinking and analyzing and what would be the best path, and like looking at all of the things that interest me and what are the pros and what are the cons. I had like a literal list in my head of pros and cons, and I would tell Mark, I don't know what to choose. I don't know where to go from here. And here's all the good and here's all the bad. And he's like, well, have you thought about that? And I'm like, yes, I have. And here's all these other bad things too. And here's so then it was actually when we were on a road trip. I don't know what it is about road trips with us.
Great decisions come from road trips
I
for us.
think it's because great conversations come in road trips for us.
That's true.
So we were on a road trip. I had just finished my associate's degree and was getting ready to start my junior year of college, and we're having a conversation about where to go, and I was talking about my passions and all the things that I love, and made a decision at that point that I think I really wanted to do graduate school for physical therapy. And so from there, I then, like on that road trip, mapped out my whole entire, like I looked up the schools that I wanted to go to, decided on the school I wanted to go to, and then mapped out my whole entire next 2 years so that I could start graduate school as soon as I ended my bachelor's degree. And I've been steadily and consistently working towards that for the last 2 years.
2 year planning versus a week and a half from the time I was like, hey, I think I want to do this to taking the test. Like two different strategies, and they both have worked out for us because you got into the school that you wanted. I got into the school that I wanted. They both worked out. However, what I have found is because of my almost just instantaneous decision, I have limited many of my choices. Whereas you kind of mapped out what you wanted it to look like and took all of the time it takes to be successful so that you would be the obvious choice. And so, two very different ways to look at it. One of the things I found is that for me, knowing my propensity to just make a decision very, very quickly, I have had to train myself to start valuing things and make sure that when I make a quick decision, it aligns with my values. So this goes back to that choice piece and that agency piece. And for me, I have things I really, really value in my life. I value my relationship with my Heavenly Father. I value my relationship with Jesus Christ. I value my relationship and my time with Becky and with the kids. And then everything else I've kind of put on that outside of that. So, in other words, I put the things that I value most right in the very middle, and then I architect everything else I do around what I value.
Or more simply put, with the topic of our today, the choices that he makes align with what is at the center of his values.
That's a great way to put it. That
Choice, because we're talking about choices, right? So the choices align with that his core values. And I there's something that I love as we talk about aligning our values our choices to our values is something that I read in a talk. I was at like a spiritual talk that I was listening. For those of you that are of our same faith, it was a talk from the 2024 General Conference for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I don't remember the talk, I'm sorry. But in it, she made a comment about the willingness to turn to the Lord and that the Lord would help you to see a different perspective. And we'll talk more about perspective later, but I've been thinking a lot about how our choices, as we pull this into a spiritual perspective, it's really about how the chaos in our life can look so different as we willingly partner with God and partner with Jesus Christ, because they help us to reframe our mindset. They help us to make better choices that help us handle the chaos in our life.
I remember when the WWJD bracelets were super, super popular, right?
Hmm.
Everyone would have the "What would Jesus do?" And, and what a great reminder. And I don't see those a lot now. In our faith, you see CTR or choose the right. And I think, and I don't remember the exact translation into Spanish, but it was think the right.
I don't think Spanish was. I think that's what I say.
Well, I know that's what you said.
I don't think, does Spanish say
I
that?
thought it was
Well, that
instead
would
of
be very
choose,
cool.
it is think. I thought it had to do with thinking the right.
We say that to our kids all the time. When they were walking out the door, we would say, think the right, because it's really like the choices you make are based on what you entertain in your mind, right? Which we'll talk more about later, but literally, you have the ability to choose how you are going to handle your chaos in all aspects of your life. And I can say from a personal perspective, this is not like I'm not telling you how to handle your life, but for me, even my struggles with depression have been different when I chose differently. In all aspects of our life, we have this ability, we have this agency to choose how we're going to show up for the struggle, for the chaos, for the trial. And then as we partner with God, he helps us to see that trial differently. And there's so much joy in that. We're told that we might have joy, right? And that joy comes through a godly perspective.
It does. And it reminds me about the differences between internal and external locus of control. Really big, fancy scientific word, which basically means internal locus of control has to do with I believe that I can make choices that will impact the rest of my day, the rest of my life. External locus of control is I do not have the ability to make choices that will impact my end results. So being able to step back for a moment and go, okay, is this in my control or is this out of my control?
Hmm.
Someone that has a very strong internal locus of control, science has shown that they happen to have more happiness, joy, fulfillment, less stress in their life, which is interesting. It's because they're taking on that ability to make a decision and they feel like their decisions can have a direct impact on what is going to be the outcome. So when I put this into a spiritual perspective, external locus of control would be Satan's voice, right?
Right.
You cannot do this, right? It's coming from the outside, and he's trying to convince me that I'm not smart enough, good enough, successful enough. I don't have the skills. I don't. He's giving me all of
Right.
these negatives.
Yes.
External locus of control when I'm in traffic is that person cut me off, right?
Mhm.
It's external to me. Internal locus of control when it comes to the religion side of things is I believe I can make a choice. I believe I can be yoked with Christ. It means I will have difficulty, but I'm choosing to be yoked with Christ so that he helps me move forward.
Yeah.
It also means that when I'm in traffic and somebody cuts me off, because the reality is somebody's going to cut you off in traffic tomorrow,
Or today.
guaranteed, or today, someone's going to cut you off. You have an ability to decide how you are going to react. And if I think about that, what would Jesus do? Or my own license plate, happy doctor, every time I want to, I don't know if it's necessarily a want to, every time I entertain the thought of ooh, they did this to me, look at that, I go, wait a second, if I cut them off or if I have road rage, now I have false advertisement of happy doctor. But
Oh, the license plate, it's come back to haunt you,
it's
babe.
haunted me. I've become such a better driver because of that idea of wait a second, that's not who I want to be in the world. I don't want to be the cutoff. I want to be the happy person.
Mhm.
And I'm going to make a choice. So internal versus external locus of control.
And
And
what's cool too is that God has promised us power, godly power, like the strength. That's what grace is, right? It's the strength to do the things that are beyond our own control. So what's cool is as we choose God, as we choose to partner with him, we get that strength. When we choose Satan, we we give up our strength. We give up our power. So it's super cool that those choices literally are the difference between our ability to withstand versus our spiral down into darkness.
that is Satan's plan is you're not good enough. The external forces have power over you. Whereas Christ, when he says, come unto me, all ye that are heavy laden and burdened, he's saying internally, you may feel this way. Join with me and let me strengthen you. And I think there's so many examples in the scriptures, and there's so many examples. This was great. There's examples in science that align with the scripture that show that this is exactly how you do it. So one of the things I love to do as a strategy when I'm trying to make a choice is I've already spent time asking myself and reminding myself on a daily basis, what does the very best version of me look like?
Mhm.
I've defined that for me and my clients. I go through a process of what does the very best version of you look like right now? You may not be that today, but what would it look like in a year if you really practiced it?
Yeah.
How would your life change if you really not just practiced, but you emulated those traits? And what would your relationships look like if you were the very best version of you at all times? Take the time to really sit back and define that. Because if you're not, you're being reactionary, external, as opposed to I am being intentional, internal.
Mhm. Agreed. So here we are, end of this little topic. It's really a big topic. And as you can tell, Mark and I are very passionate about agency, about our gift of choice. And so our challenge to you this week is to find some little way that you can connect better with God and partner with him better at making those choices in your life so that you can have more joy,
If
less chaos.
if you have not defined what the very best of you looks like and you're having a hard time, I really encourage you to kneel down in prayer. Ask God to show that to you.
Mhm.
Spend time in scripture, reading about it, and spend time in prayer, talking with Him about it. Have Him show you what the very best version of you looks like, or the very next best version of you looks like.
And go ahead.
Because the very best of you today is not going to be the very best of you in a year or 2 or 3 years. You're going to evolve and grow.
Mhm.
So having that constant going back to go, what does the very best of me look like? Have God show that to you. And then some really great little strategies that you could utilize to remember sticky notes. The most amazing thing that you could ever do. If you struggle with road rage or getting frustrated driving to work or in traffic, put a little sticky note right on your dashboard that just reminds you, oh, yeah, that's not what I want to do here. I want to be this, this, and this, right?
Mhm. I think that another key element to remember is that this process takes time. And if you don't hear God tell you what the very best of you is like today or tomorrow in 6 months, there is a beautiful journey that happens in the patience, in the learning and continuing to seek for that answer that you wouldn't get if he just gave it to you. So be patient and enjoy the journey of learning what the best of you is in God's eyes.
Okay, so C, choice. This is that very first part of that control framework. You have an ability to make a choice. You have that God given agency. You have the moral agency to see between right and wrong. You have a pattern between light and darkness, right and wrong, pleasure and pain. You have an ability to see those differences. And as you begin to focus upon that internal locus of control, my hope for you is that you will see God's hand in your life. He is there. I know He is there. Take the time that Becky said to be patient in that journey of growth. You didn't get this way overnight. You're not going to change overnight. It's okay to have it take some time, but focus on it. And then do me a favor, do us a favor. We are here to share personal development, leadership development, and God's development for you. Please share this with your friends. We want to help be a positive impact to show how you can merge that personal development and that leadership development with the word of Christ, because you have the ability to choose ye this day whom you will serve. For me and my family, we will choose to serve the Lord. I pray that you too will find that strength in your daily life. Thanks so much, you guys.